Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. I am a certified Zentangle teacher. So this is my first 8 days of Inktober 2022. So I'm doing them daily on a calendar, and then I'm also doing them on a large piece of, I think it's 9 by 12 piece of mixed media, like a watercolor paper. It's a little bit thicker, and I'm using my Micron PN plastic nib pen on this, so it has a little bit more bold lines. All right, sometimes after a video I go back and add a few more things, so I added another one of these flux echoes here, and I put a couple of little fillers in and a few spaces. But I thought I would take a minute to do some shading because we've come a long ways. I've done a tiny bit of shading, but I want to just show you how I kind of go back and add shading to a whole piece. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And it's kind of a lot. Okay, so get the camera to stop shaking. All right, so I'm just going to pick up my graphite pencil, and I'm going to start over here with Heartfully. And in each of these little corners, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of graphite in the bottom of each heart. There are so many ways to shade things, and I'm not an artist who understands lighting and shadows and all of that kind of stuff, so this is just one way you can do it. So just quickly adding a little smudge of graphite in each one. All right, and then if you have a tortillon, that's just a rolled up paper tool that is used for blending. You can get these at Michael's or any art store or on Amazon. If you don't have one of these, you can use a Q-tip or the tip of your finger. And I'm just going to soften these a little bit out towards the top of those hearts. Trying not to skip any of them. And I don't want the whole heart to be colored in, so I'm just doing a tiny bit of pushing. And look at already, isn't that great? It's amazing how quickly that adds some depth and dimension to your work. I love that. Look at this side of my paper compared to over here where I haven't smushed those in yet. And that is it. Pretty simple. I think I got them all. Okay, there's Heartfully. So this one here, I don't need a lot, but I can add some against this middle of that little flower petal, and I can push that out. Gives a little bit of dimension. And then I kind of like how I have this whole big tangle called Rain across here, and it kind of gets lost. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to put graphite around the entire thing. This is just a technique you can use to kind of highlight something that you have in the middle or that's larger or more of a focal piece. So I'm just putting graphite all the way around it. I feel like I'm doing a maze. Right over my other tangles. And go slow, and when I go fast, I end up getting graphite everywhere. I'm going kind of quickly because I know you don't want to sit here and watch me shade for an hour, but it's okay if I'm shading an area that I didn't put tangles in yet because my ink will go right over it. Okay, let's see, get my tortillon, and I'm just going to go around that whole edge and just smooth it out. See how that makes that kind of pop off the page a little bit? Isn't that pretty? I used to be afraid of shading. I didn't really understand it. But now I just enjoy playing around with it and just seeing how it changes my picture. And of course it's in pencil, so it can be erased if you don't like the effect. So here I went too fast and got inside. I can take my eraser and clean that up a little bit if I want. My tortillon isn't very sharp and I'm definitely going too fast. Look at that. I could even go back and add more if I wanted. Oh, I love that. Okay, now I'm going to do these little guys here. Those were called, I think that was called Del Y. Pretty sure that was the Del Y. So I'm going to take this one here that looks pretty flat, and I'm just going to put a little bit of graphite over those two petals and over this middle petal, and a tiny smidge at the bottom of those. So I'm going to push this up and out, and that out a little bit. Look at that. Just changed it a little bit. So same thing here over the top of these petals because they're kind of overlapping that shape behind it. And a little bit in the bottoms of those petals. Pushing it out and pushing that out. So it's not amazing. It's nothing fantastic. It just gives it a little bit of maybe separation. Makes it look a little more 3D. Got two more to do down here. Wherever you see something overlapping. So I'm going to do those, and then look at how this Del Y here goes over this one. So I can add a tiny bit of graphite as if there's a shadow. And look at how that makes it look like this one is sitting behind it. Love that. Oh, so pretty. I've got a couple more Del Ys down here. Same thing, little bit of graphite. Little bit in those bottoms of those leaves. Now if I want, this Del Y kind of goes over this one, so I can add some graphite here, and it goes over some tangles on this side. And this Del Y goes over several, so I'm going to put some graphite on the outside of that to sort of make that pop up. Look at how it's just starting to change a little bit. Now my eye is drawn to this piece here because it's a little bit flat. So these lines go over those, kind of make them look like they're tucking in. Can give that a little lift. All right, on these mollygons, I've got mollygons kind of scattered everywhere. Mollygons, I like to do the corners. And then just push them towards the center, but keep that center white. Makes them look a little bit rounded. You can also do the bottom and the top, and it will look a little bit rounded the other way. So I got all these mollygons over here. I'm going to do that bottom and that inside of the top and soften it. See how that just changes it from a flat mulligan to just something that has a tiny bit of dimension. And when you're shading, you really want to avoid just a dark line and then white. You want it to soften from darker to lighter. I'm going to go ahead and do all of these that same way. Little on the inside, little on the outside. Not outside, but inside the top. This one's got enough dark over here, I don't need to do very much. There we go. And then kind of watch your fingers because mine are starting to get a little bit of graphite on them, and I'm going to start smudging my work if I'm not careful. So cool. Okay, let's do a couple of these flux echoes. So flux echo, I'm going to go around this orb, kind of where those flicks start. And then I'm also going to imagine this flux echo here, put a little bit on the bottom, and then it goes over the next one. So I'm going to put some graphite on the outside. So I got a little bit in the center. I can push up, and then a little bit here. And that next petal looks like it goes over the next one. So every time those petals go over another spot, add a shadow. And look at how pretty that flux echo is compared to the one beside it, just with that little bit of shading. So I'm going to go ahead and continue those off camera because you don't need to see me do every single one. And then let's see, let's do snack. So snack has this natural little area. It looks like it's tucking in here and tucking in back here. So I'm going to push that out or pull it out. And then with my tortillon already having some graphite on it, I'm just going to add a little bit to the outside of these curves. It's just a little, but look at how much more dimension that has. I can even do it inside my orbs. So for this one, I tuck in over here and down here. And then I can add a little bit to the outside rounded edges. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop right there, but you get the idea. So have fun adding a little bit of graphite to your pictures. Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow.